Hello everyone and welcome back to another Does It Make a Difference podcast. And this time we are talking about virtual assistants. I'm lucky enough to have with me Naomi Wachner from Calibre Virtual Assistant Services, and we're going to touch on this subject in a little bit more detail. So thanks very much for joining me, Naomi.
Thank you so much, Bob. Really happy to be here.
Well, of course, the first question, as always, is does it make a difference to have a virtual assistant?
Absolutely, especially if you can answer or recognize yourself in these three things. If you are a business owner with an established concept who is looking to scale and generate more revenue. If the answer is yes, then definitely there is value in having a virtual assistant.
Okay, so now virtual assistant is a simple title, but obviously it covers lots of different disciplines.
Yes.
So is there any particular area which actually your clients have found to be the most rewarding of the services?
It really does depend, obviously, on the type of business that you're working with. So for us at the moment, we tend to be working with consultancies and business coaches who are, again, looking to scale their businesses. And for them, a lot of the time, they just love the client-facing aspect of their job or what they do. They love that there are really people. And they tend to get lost sometimes in the admin side of things. They may need support with the financial admin side of things, with their overwhelming inbox when it comes to following up with clients or just getting the paperwork sorted. So with these things, they really do see the value very quickly, and we're able to help them out.
Okay, and so what's the sort of range that people seek when it comes to virtual services? I mean, is there a certain area that they want which is more popular than another that's
Ooh,
a benefit to them?
Yeah, that's almost quite a tricky question, actually. To be honest, inbox management, so helping with overwhelming emails, comes up a lot. People who are just like, listen, I've got so many newsletters, I can't find this proposal that was sent to me every day, especially when they're really established and growing. They've got so many people who are trying to gain access to them. They just need someone, in addition to maybe the small team they already have, just to help them keep their head above water, focus on the important, focus on the tasks that help them to generate that revenue. So with inbox management, that is something that we can offer quite easily and has, a lot of demand for it at the moment.
Okay, so in inbox management, and you mentioned a small team, how long does it take for a virtual assistant to integrate with the established team that's already there? Because obviously if it's several people in an office, there's dynamics in the office, then there's this mysterious person or persons outside of the office. It must be quite tricky to gel.
It can be. So I'm going to obviously answer from the perspective of a Calibre virtual assistant.
Right.
So with us, what we do at the beginning of the process, so if you were to chat with me as the founder, listen, I'm looking for a virtual assistant, I would make sure that you would meet that virtual assistant first. So let's say via Zoom, if the virtual assistant wasn't too close by. So in that Zoom meeting, you would just be having a conversation, obviously about business, but you want to get to know each other as human beings, as people. And from the questions that you ask, you can also see if the virtual assistant understands your company culture, what types of businesses do they have the tendency to work with. So, for example, with yourself, have they worked with podcasters before? How long have you worked with them? What was the difficult thing about working with them? What kind of pain points have you found useful to solve for podcasters? So in that conversation, you can see very quickly if someone's going to pick something up very, very quickly. And on the other side of the coin, whether it's someone who actually, I think they lack that experience that I'm looking for. So that initial conversation is so important, when it comes to my business and I'm talking to business owners. And after that, we actually have what I call a 2-week trial, in inverted commas, because with Calibre, you're not stuck into a contract. We're so confident with the level of our services that there's no minimum term. We're confident that after 2 weeks or so, you'll be so happy that you'll want to continue anyway. So we always tell people, listen, there's no risk to you. Just try us out for 2 weeks. And generally during those 2 weeks, you get the VA, but you also get myself. So during those 2 weeks, after a few days, I either WhatsApp you or give you a call or email, whatever method of communication that you're happy with. and just touch base. Are you happy with the service? Is the VA providing the service that you expected? Is there any tweaks that you would like me to chat about with the VA or with yourself? How can we make this even better? Or great, you're really happy? Fantastic. I'll call you again in a week. Right. So that's something that we offer, which is sometimes quite special compared to other businesses.
So now you mentioned podcasting. What suddenly struck me is that, you know, us creative types can be quite sensitive to work with, shall we say, sometimes. So well, it's one thing to go out looking for your clients, but obviously the people that are supporting you, that are your VAs. What's your process of actually selecting the right people that have the right skills for you or for your clients?
Yes. So I do have quite a strict process at the moment, and actually, when I was at that point of rebranding to take on associates and virtual assistants, I had this excellent business coach who really helped me through that process. But it started with my core values. So my core values with Calibre is positivity. So I love people who have a problem-solving, positive attitude when they're with clients. Transparency is extremely important because obviously you've got a person who's letting you into their world, oftentimes people view their businesses as like their baby that they're raising, you know, so they're letting you in. So communication, being very clear with what you can offer, being very clear with what you can do, and being clear with what you can't do so that the business owner can make that decision that's not going to cost them. And quality. So that's the edge that I really always wanted to bring my business is expertise. So my virtual assistants, they have to be formally qualified in the area of expertise that they're offering. It can be quite common to find a virtual assistant, which is also, you know, great if you're happy with that, who has just figured out how to do something. And great, I'm sure the price point also reflects that. But for the impact that we're hoping to bring to businesses who are looking, again, to scale, to generate more revenue, these are ambitious business owners. They've got a plan and they need you on the journey so they can reach that plan quicker. They need somebody who knows what they're doing, who has the formal qualification and the experience to back it up. And again, the positivity and the love for what they do also. So that's how I go about the process, making sure my VAs tick all of those points.
Okay. Now, taking the boot on the other side, the employers, perhaps, depending on their age, I guess, experience, may have come from an area where they employ people and they tell them what to do and that's it. And they're sitting in the office with them and they can see whether they've achieved those goals or how they're approaching their work or whatever. Now, what does a potential employer that's coming to you to look for assistance, what do they need to take into account in the way they possibly change their views or the most effective way to work with someone who obviously, after the initial meeting, they're probably not going to see again?
Well, it's quite funny that you would, obviously term it in the way employer. Oftentimes recently with the businesses that I've worked with, I would say that there's two types. There are those who were employers, had these big teams, and they literally got sick of the complication of hiring and managing people. And they felt that actually took them away from the core reason of their business, why they came into business in the first place. Right. So they often come to me when they've at this point where they've actually downscaled. So that it's only them, or maybe a fellow director, or maybe they're a team of 3, but they have no longer any interest in hiring. And that's when having a virtual assistant really comes into its own, because they are people who know what it's like to have to bother about sick pay, pension, tax, disciplinaries. They know all of that, and they come to me like, okay, I just need someone to do the job, but I just don't have the mental capacity or the willpower to deal with that side of things. Can you help? And that is the fantastic thing about virtual assistants. I think we've talked about this before. They are self-employed, so they look after a lot of things for themselves. And so when it comes to what should an employer or another business owner take into account? I would say really it's transparency, which is why it was a core value. Just maintaining that communication, being very clear with what they want. And I do appreciate that sometimes some business owners know they want something, they need help, but they're not quite sure where. And that's where our expertise comes in. And again, that's when the communication, that those first few meetings really are useful, just to hear the business owner's story. And you can always tell with creatives or any other kind of business owner, just through the conversation, I'm already like making slight notes, like I think I can tell where you might need some assistance there with the way your mind works. So it's again, communication, transparency. So those are the employers that obviously have had that experience. But again, there's business owners who have worked from the ground up and they are now at that opportunity. And sometimes it is just them. And they want to do it all themselves, reluctantly are realizing I can't do it all myself, because how can I be seeing clients whilst also doing my invoicing, whilst also doing this and that? They can't do it all. So they're at that stage in their journey where they're just looking for the kind of support they can rely on. Again, without that additional stress, but just so, again, they can scale faster.
So would you say then, in the time you've been doing this, is it a trend? Trend perhaps not the right word, but is it something that's starting to happen more often, that businesses which have been more established, larger bricks and mortar, obviously COVID's had a massive impact, that's changed a lot of the physical aspects of how big an office you need, or bigger unit or factory or whatever, but also the staff, and the fact that if the staff are now working from home, and perhaps they've even drifted away, they might have found other employment, that people are starting to reframe the way they're structuring their business. Is it starting to become a common trend? In other words, that they're restructuring and saying, well, rather than having, as you say, 10 staff to do a whole variety of things, let's now just have the 3 or 4 core people and do everything VA style, and offshore the manufacturing or whatever it may be. But they've still got a core business, which is still very much their character.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am seeing it personally much more common since the pandemic. I think that aspect of remote work, I think everyone's got an opinion about it, but since the pandemic, people have actually seen the practicalities around it. And as you say, it's very possible to have that core team whilst then outsourcing certain things. So we, as you said, virtual assistancy is such a general term. But if we pretty much summarize what a virtual assistant can be, it can be a type of consultant. We've got social media managers. It can be a proofreader. It can be a bookkeeper. Like, all of these people can also call themselves virtual assistants, because they're assisting people with a very specific aspect of their business. And that's why my personal team is made up of all of these things, whilst coming under that virtual assistant brand, because they also, in addition to these main expertise that they have, they also offer the traditional PA style of working as well. But yeah, it's definitely becoming much more common because it has less risk to it as well.
Okay. And talking, well, not so much about risk, but more about time management. I'd be curious to know, just as a rough idea, sort of the number of people that you've got as your team, but also, do you structure them in such a way that they have a limit? In other words, they can only have 5 clients or whatever, because obviously their time is important to each client.
Exactly.
So how do you work it with them to say, okay, well, I don't know, accountant, should we say, or somebody doing paperwork, the finances, they surely, it's just being realistic. They've only got enough time to deal with X amount of clients.
Exactly. So my team, we're about 5 now. I've got a team of 5, and to be honest, they are absolutely fantastic. So when you say, how do they manage their time? The caliber of team members that I have, they are fantastic at managing their own time as well. And they are, again, self-employed. They are their own business owners. So they come to me under the umbrella of my brand. So they benefit from client introductions. I can provide them with the work. So in that aspect, it makes things easier for them in terms of finding the work. But when it comes to working with clients and choosing or accepting the offers when they come through and organising their own time, yes, there is a maximum of clients that you can have in 1 week. And with Calibre, we tend to work with people who are looking for a minimum of 5 hours a week of support, because again, we're looking for those who are already established, people who are looking to scale. So they already know that they need daily support, for example. And again, transparency, I just have a very clear chat with my associates, with my, the virtual assistants on my team, just to see what their availability still is. I've got this fantastic client that, we've had a brief phone call. They're going to, come on Zoom. This is the area of work that they're looking to focus on. You're perfect for this. What's your availability like? So generally speaking, by the time I've actually booked a meeting with yourself, let's say after the initial, chat or email, I already have someone lined up who has that availability because I've spoken to them previously.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you obviously don't make promises you can't keep.
Yeah.
So one question then comes to mind. We've met a few times at networking events, and obviously I've seen you talking to the room. What is the general objection to considering VAs that you're finding?
Well, I think a lot of times people ask me a very simple question. So what is a VA? What is it? And I've actually spent a lot of time thinking to myself, should I even be calling ourselves VA? Because not many people seem to know what that means. So virtual assistant, what is that? So obviously I tend to start with what we do for people rather than the title. We provide remote admin support. So that's very clear for people. We support established business owners who don't want to hire, who think it's complicated, but they're looking to scale, to grow. So by just describing the impact that we have on businesses, that makes it, more clear to them. So really explaining to people what a virtual assistant is, that's the first step. And cost. People are also scared of being tied into contracts that they can't get out of. And also, I've had to experience that myself because it was quite ironic after I had started my business, being fully booked myself within eight months and starting my team. Suddenly, I was the person who needed a virtual assistant for myself. And funny enough, what did I first start thinking? Oh my goodness, letting someone into my world. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. So straight away I could relate to my clients, and I had to remember what I tell them, And funny enough, I found my VA within the Calibre team because, well, if you have the best, if you have the experts, might as well ask them to help yourself. Yeah. But it was great actually to experience for myself the feelings that other business owners have when I speak with them.
Yeah,
so I get it.
Journey.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get it because I was there now. It wasn't just theory. I get it on the other side. So it's that trust element that someone's not going to come into your business, mess things up, ruin your reputation, create a lawsuit, all of that, that's what I think people tend to worry about, which is why I'm really trying to establish a higher standard within the Calibre brand, let's say, to start, because it's not a regulated industry. And I just want people to know the moment they hear Calibre, oh, that company I can rely on to do a good job.
Right. So it's not regulated. I didn't realise that.
No, it's not. Quite a few industries are like that, isn't it? Like coaching, for example.
Yeah.
Different ones, yeah.
Okay. So have you got any examples then of businesses that your team have had the greatest impact on?
Goodness. Oh, I should have brought a client with me, shouldn't I? They could have told you. Let me think. Well, we have had the pleasure of, let's say, working with a company in the social care industry. So they were consultants. And to be honest, this was something very close to my heart anyway, because it involved children. I'm a mother. And the impact that they were having on children in care, making sure that they are okay and that they have the best shot at life. So already, I remember during the initial conversation, I was just like, I get the spirit of this company. I really want to work with them. Let's just put business aside for one moment, but I get the philosophy and the culture here. And with them, they were at the very start of their journey. And it was two directors, but one of them decided both of them, they decided to merge. So they had two different businesses and they were starting to merge into one. So all of the admin that goes into that, as you can imagine, merging into one business, setting up a limited company, for the two of them. So helping them along that journey. And they were actually one of my longest serving clients, really, which was such a pleasure. And I would say the impact that we had on them is that we created processes for them that they could just stick to. So they didn't have to worry with everything they had going on, obviously building their business, learning how to work together themselves, marketing their business. There was just so many elements. And just the fact that we as a team could just say, listen, we've got your email sorted. We'll let you know with the inquiries. There was a proofreading requirement as well with all these reports that are coming in and out. Don't worry, we can do that. When do you need it by? Tomorrow? Right, okay, head down. We can get that done for you. So meeting these very tight deadlines, knowing the impact that it had on the children, on their businesses as well, that was something which I feel we had a really great impact on.
Now, one thing that's obviously around at the moment, a big buzzword, is AI.
Yes.
And it's a lot of people are frightened of it, but also many people want to use it as a tool. That's how I view it. I view it as a tool.
Absolutely.
It can save time, it can do a few things, but it's not perfect. Are you involving or adapting in some way AI into your systems?
We are, and it's an ongoing process. Like yourself, we're all learning about it. And the great thing about having a team is that I'm able to have someone who knows a lot more about these things than I do. But it is very important in our day and age to future-proof one's business. And AI is here. It's a reality.
So what are you guys using it for then?
So it's not so much for us ourselves at the moment, but for the businesses that we work with. These businesses are already implementing AI into their strategies, and so learning how to work with that. But it was actually quite interesting because we were working with somebody, and I think it was to do with creating content and blogs. And they straight away said to us, right, we need help with the content. Do you use AI? Are you going to use AI to rip me off and just to, pretend it's your own work? So they were very clear. They were using it as a tool, but they did not want their blogs to be just written by AI, which I completely appreciate. So it's about, again, that transparency and communication. Where do they see AI fitting into their business and working along with that? But goodness, I've already been to a good 2-3 meetings about how to future-proof your business with AI and also the legalities around it. A lot of us jump onto certain trends with AI, and actually we have to really be careful because the legal side of things is still a bit blurry. So because I'm there to establish a higher standard for my clients with these kind of things, I'm very careful and just learning as much as I can, but also getting the experts in so that we can do it properly.
Yeah, I went to a copyright talk about AI, and it hadn't occurred to me that obviously AI is sucking in the information just as much as giving it out. So if you're putting in sensitive information into which you should be doing, it is absorbing that information and adding it to its own cloud memory or whatever however it works. Anyway, Naomi, thank you very much indeed for your time. It's been lovely to talk to you in more detail. Of course, there is a final question, which is, of all the things I could have asked you about virtual assistant services, what should I have asked you?
I think maybe a question about what sets Calibre Virtual Assistants Services apart from other VA brands. And one thing that I love to share when I'm answering that question is I like to ask people, have you heard of Hotel Chocolat? Most people say, oh, yeah, chocolate, absolutely. Now, if you think of Hotel Chocolat, there are so many other chocolate brands. In fact, the chocolate company, the industry is saturated. And yet Hotel Chocolat sets itself apart as a premium brand known for the quality of its product. It's something that if you have someone special in mind, Hotel Chocolat, that'll make a great gift. Calibre, we want to be the Hotel Chocolat of the VA brand. We are that brand with that higher quality service, which is why we put so much emphasis in making sure that the virtual assistants who are part of my team are formally qualified, that they have a specific area of expertise so they can solve your business pain points to a very high level. So if anything, just remember Calibre, the Hotel Chocolat of the VA brand.
And you know what's going to happen now? People are going to be walking down the high street and going, chocolate. Yeah, that reminds me of... Well, there you go, folks. Straight from Naomi, you've got all the details there. So it's it for this particular edition of Does It Make a Difference? If you want to find out more about Calibre VA, then obviously the details will be on the website and in the links. And until next time, take care, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.